Hi, welcome back to another talk. My name is Jill Niebuhr. I am also the new Angel Warrior. I have been Jammin the Warrior up until this stage in my career. Just a really long path to get me to where I am today. And the more you know about me, the more you'll understand why that was my name. And it's beyond my understanding right now. I have ideas of how it all fits together, very clear ideas. But yeah, it's just kind of, my life path. And today I want to talk about when my life turned around. So I wasn't always on, this path, working towards my mission and working towards the stage that I'm at right now. I started out, very much a people pleaser. And I was looking for love. I was looking to feel loved and accepted. And what this did is it made me very angry and resentful in my life because I wasn't being loved. No matter how much I tried to pour into someone else, I wasn't still getting my love. And what I found out is that you have to be on your path in order to get the love that you have coming to you. And if you see some smoke, I got some nag champa burning in here, so I hope it doesn't get too cloudy. So good though. And my little puppy is getting used to doing these videos. He's on my lap right now. He had a really active day yesterday. He was demanding my attention the whole day. And then I took a late night break and went to get some work done. And he's been really, really good today, like a prince. So I still see him like a prince even when he's got a lot of activity going on. But yeah, so we're having a really good day here at the house. He was like barking every time I tried to do something yesterday. It's like, well, I guess I'm supposed to pay attention to you today. Anyways, yeah, when my life turned around. So I decided to move out of my small town that I'm from, Wells, Minnesota, into Los Angeles to go to college. And I already knew in my heart, I mean, it was pretty obvious I was really called to live a musical life. I had a deeply embedded connection to music, and I was a piano player. I took a lot of dance. I choreographed. I was a cheerleader. But I didn't really believe in it. I didn't really believe in myself. I didn't really believe it mattered, I don't think. I think that I thought it would be easier to just pursue a normal career and do a normal thing, and let it be. So I moved to Los Angeles, and then I moved to Hollywood from Brentwood. And I just, the more I hung around there, the more I just, music was kind of trying to pull me into the lifestyle. I was very much in the underground scene. I learned how to mix records. Well, I didn't really learn, I just kind of picked it up. I just started one day and knew how to do it and had my own ideas of how to mix things. And, the dancing was huge. It was fun down there because, dance is much more popular down there than here in Minnesota. In Minnesota, people wait to get drunk before they dance. It's like a thing. I don't know. I never really understood it, but people down there, they go out to dance. And so, and then, just things with my writing and my poetry, and I would play piano to kind of escape from the pressures of, my studies and everything. So I was studying law, and I was studying politics, and I was very good at it. And I was working very hard. I went to a private school, and I don't come from a family with a lot of money, like very little, low income. And but going to college, I didn't want a lot of student debt. I wanted to, I was very functioning, and I was also an overachiever, and I really was instilled with a good sense of money and also giving, and I had good values, and I didn't want to be stuck with student debt my whole life. And so I figured out a way that I could afford my private college education moving to Los Angeles without loans. My parents helped me out a little bit. And, I got some scholarship money, I got some financial aid, and I worked like 2 to 3 jobs, plus I did babysitting. And then I was also I was starting to become part of this underground scene eventually. So, that was too much. And I took 18 credits of very difficult classes. I didn't even start with undergrad classes. I finished my degree a couple years back here, and I mainly had generals left. And even at that time, I had passed out of a lot of the generals because of the courses I took my last 2 years in high school. So anyways, like I was taking all of these hard classes, with these really incredible professors. And I came into the college when the political science department had a couple of pre-law professors that were probably the best anywhere, and they were coming to the end of their years. So I decided to take them immediately as a freshman. I got signed in, I got special exception to be in the class, and I just bridged the gap with extra studying. And so I was actually doing all this stuff. And I got, I was wearing down. I was wearing down and wearing down and wearing down. Plus the fact that I wasn't listening to myself. I had known going into that situation that I was meant to be in music. I was kind of, trying to find ways that I could still be in a music life and still, look normal to other people. And I say look normal because I mean, like, you talk to anyone about having a music career, and what will they say? They'll say it's nearly impossible. But here's the thing people don't consider. Some people are called to do the impossible. And what's impossible for someone else is actually like what they're meant to do. And it might look impossible to everyone else. That's because they have something else they need to do. You know what I mean? It's mindset. It's ideas about, that's their idea for themselves. It might be impossible for you, but this is what I'm meant to be, right? And so I didn't have that understanding of my particular place in the world, and how, it was no one else's responsibility to understand it. It was my responsibility to follow it. So, I was thinking, I could study, go into law for a long time. And I do have a calling of politics in my life. I do have a calling that the law takes a place. So this was all part of my path. We don't make any mistakes. It's all part of our journey. It's part of our learning process. It's part of becoming, are all these little things that we pick up along the way, and all these things that, these side journeys and these things, these learning lessons, or maybe you got something from someone and you're like, I thought it would last. Well, it served its place and now you move on. So, I was thinking, well, if I'm alive still, because I was really, the law life, was not really what filled me up. It didn't make me feel my most authentic. It made me feel like I was shortening myself out, and fighting for things at times that maybe I didn't want to fight for, just because that was part of my job. And I didn't find a way to balance that would have made sense to me. But I thought, so I had destructive habits that came with, these challenges of debating things that maybe I didn't normally believe in. And it also helped me challenge things that I maybe wouldn't have, and helped me become a more evolved person by looking at both sides of situations. Anyways, I thought, well, when I'm a lawyer and making a lot of money, I could just have a band on the side and do that on weekends just for fun, right? And then I also thought, well, I could go into entertainment law and just be behind the scenes as a lawyer. And, I felt like a lot of artists really weren't, and I still feel like this, and this is part of what my mission is, but it's not particularly in law. It's more of the mental health crisis and how I might be able to help through something like that. A lot of stars do not have the proper foundation of people that they can trust in their lives. And so, you see a lot of stars, well, how it plays out is, the deaths, the premature deaths, but, the drug use and all these unhealthy things from feeling isolated in their life. And the strange part is that, all these people love them for this presence that they have, but they don't, their heart is still empty. I thought that as a lawyer, I could, go into entertainment law and kind of have a place in looking out for these stars. And that is, something that is important to me. Everyone deserves to have safe people in their life, right? We have to believe we do. Anyways, so these were thoughts I was having, and what ended up happening is my third year in college, I was kind of isolated in a situation where I became a victim of a violent crime that lasted a whole night. I was lucky to get out alive, and then I ended up, they strangely ended up catching him, and I testified, and it changed who I was, because I no longer could identify with my normal self. He had stripped me away of my comfort in myself. It didn't feel normal anymore for me to be comfortable with people. I started questioning things that I had never questioned before. I started looking at life from the way of things that a lot of people don't ever have to consider. And I had some people that I hung out with, and I was at their house one night, and we were hanging out, but it wasn't really the same to hang out with me anymore. My life had kind of left me. Even though I was still alive, the light in my eyes was gone for a while. And, it took me 20 years to journey back to myself, and what that gave me was an appreciation of myself I couldn't have before. I saw what other people had seen in me before that I couldn't receive. And, it comes down to that sense of feeling loved. It's like a lot of times we are being loved. We just don't know it because we're rejecting ourselves. And if we reject ourselves, no matter how much someone loves us, we will not be able to receive that and to see, oh wow, they see something in me, because we don't see it in ourselves. We don't know ourselves. And it makes sense that I was off my path. I was doing things that, weren't, I wasn't following my music career, and that's a huge thing for me, because the signs were that everything in my life was calling me to be paying attention to this, and I kept saying no. got to do this, right? I got to do this thing, you know, because my mind was telling me this was what was going to be better for me. So I left these friends' house one night, and normally I probably would have just stayed there. They said stay there. They said, you know, we had a few drinks, not much. I wasn't really enjoying myself in my life anymore, and I wanted to go home. And you know, one of them actually said, "Don't get pulled over." And I was driving through Beverly Hills, and I got pulled over. And the only reason why I didn't stay there is because the night that this crime had happened, I was tired, and you know, because I was tired, I shouldn't have even been out. But I was dancing, and the amp blew, and I couldn't stay up. And I asked the people that were having the party, I said, can I stay in your room for a little bit? Well, everyone ended up leaving, and you know, this dangerous guy ended up breaking back in, you know, seeing that I was in this room, and you know, that was where this transformative night happened for me. And so I didn't want to stay at their house after this had happened. It's kind of like, you know, I got out of that situation alive once. I'd rather be at my own house. I slept armed and ready for someone. And, you know, it would have been dangerous actually at that point for me to stay at someone's house. Dangerous for someone else because I was very paranoid and scared, and really had my deep survival instincts going at alert all the time. So I was not going to stay at their house, you know. I drove home, and it was the strangest thing. I didn't put my blinker on quick enough, and so the guy pulled me over, and you know, I'm sure it just, yeah, it was one of those weird things. Like, it wasn't like I was doing like a lot of bad stuff. But anyways, this helped me get, all these things helped me get on my path. So what happened was, you know, I got in some legal trouble, and I ended up meeting the #1 criminal lawyer in the United States through a friend. A friend had went to high school with his daughter, and I went and met him, and I had all of these arguments lined up for him for my case. And he was so incredibly good at what he did. It was just really, really one of the, you know, the top of my most amazing experiences in my life was, you know, meeting him and having a chance to work with him. I didn't have to go to court. He got everything canceled except for like a reckless driving, which was like an $80 fine. I did have marijuana in my car, and I think I was speeding, and then the blinker, there was like 3 or 4 of the cop, you know, really gave it to me. But the whole point in this is that I was coming to a turning point. I was coming to a point where, you know, my life was no longer serving me like it was. And I've went through that again just recently. We ended up, you know, really, I don't know, I asked him, you know, if I could actually have an internship with him my 4th year in college, and we had everything signed and everything that I was going to work with him, and it would have been the start of my career as a criminal lawyer. It would have been a totally different life that I was, you know, embarking on. And what ended up happening is, you know, it was just too hard for me to cope with school. I was on subpoena for my court case for a really long time, probably from December to about May, and everything just kind of blanketed at one point. And my bosses, I worked for the owners of a company in Beverly Hills, and they were leaving me in charge of the business while they went on this like 2-week excursion. That was one thing. And I was in finals at the same time. And then finally I got subpoenaed in on the days that that was happening. And I wasn't able to do my finals. I wasn't able to be in my job. I decided to testify against this guy so that it couldn't happen to someone else. And then I lost my job, and my school grades suffered, and I went down to my bottom and lost my mind. And was put into the hospital. And, you know, there were a lot of other things that happened as well. But it was in the hospital that I had this awakening that, you know, eventually I was put on a commitment, and I had an awakening that I was being given some time to find myself. And I knew that what I needed to do was to start learning my craft and start pursuing my music and start to express my ideas that I wanted to in song. And so I did that. I started writing songs for the first time. My poetry instead became songs then, and I went through this process. And I was schooled from, you know, popular songs on the radio, watching videos, and the other thing I had an idea of is that I would start this out and that love would restore me. And so also for the first time in my life, I wanted to start exploring having intimate relationships. And that was when my life turned around. It was in what would have looked like one of the worst situations ever. It was a situation, it was probably, I would honestly, it was the one situation, being in the hospital was the one place, the one thing in life, you know, out of all the things, losing your arm or your eyes or, you know, just all the unimaginable things that can happen to you in your life, that was the one thing I didn't want to happen to me. And I found myself there, and I realized that I had things to learn from that experience. And I was angry about it, but also I saw that this is here for a reason. This is serving a purpose. And I'm gonna go forward with it. I'm gonna go forward with it. I'm not gonna give up. I'm going to fight as long as it takes to get to the other side of this. So that was my video, When My Life Turned Around. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did, please. Thank you.